Ladies and gentlemen, you have the pleasure today of witnessing the glorious ascent of Typhus. Now, I don't actually know if he wins this game, but what I've been hearing from a lot of players is that Typhus is the new prodigy. And yes, Typhus, if you're watching this, the pressure is on, buddy, because people have been declaring you the prodigy. Now, I will say, he's playing Tyranids, and the general consensus at high level at the moment is that Tyranids are the strongest race in the game. In particular, the Ravener Alpha is probably the strongest hero in the game. And as usual, I forgot to turn off my Steam. Brilliant. I just got back from holiday, so now we're going to do a bunch of casts. And I really wanted to start with Typhus. I've heard a lot about this guy. This is going to be the first time I'm watching his gameplay. Now, he's not using the Hormagaunt spam that you see at higher level from players like Cry. But in general, the Ravener Alpha is good regardless. Now, he's going to be going up against the Tech Marine. I don't really know whether the Hormagaunt spam is good against the Tech Marine or whether you'd rather have Termagants. It's a bit awkward either way. The Termagants themselves are going to really struggle against the Tax and the Tech Marine early on when they don't have any support from Bab Strangler Warrior Broods and when they don't have their upgrades. But the problem is, if you spam Hormagaunts, the Tech Marine can go for his Artificer armor and plant mines, and a well-placed mine can literally one-shot a Hormagaunt squad. So obviously you just move the Tech Marine around a minefield of mines, and you can't really tie him up. And he does pretty good damage, as you can see early on. And he can cause a lot of problems. This right here is not really a good situation here for Typhus, having his Termagants out in the open, bleeding to the Tech Marine. And you'll see the massive amount of XP here that the Tech Marine has received because of the fact that he got all the damage onto those Gaunts. No one else contributed. So he ends up with a really big chunk of XP. Okay, I'm going to have to start again because of frigging Discord pinging in the background. I will be right back. Alright folks, we're back, and the beautiful thing is I'm now offline on Steam as well. Isn't that glorious? So yeah, what I'm talking about by Prodigy is that everyone's basically saying Typhus is a monster. He's beating up all the initiates. He's actually winning games against intermediate players. I believe this game is the finale of a beginners tournament or something. I think so. Not 100% sure. Might not be a finale. It might be like a semi-finals or something. But it was from like a beginners tournament. So I'm noticing the warriors here for Typhus are coming out very late. But he went for the double gens. I think that's perhaps too much. It's been a long time since I've played. And there's little changes in the costs for each of the unit on the patches at the moment. Especially for Tyranids, they're getting a lot of attention. And it's messing the timings up. But I believe this is a little bit late on the warrior timings. Going for Toxic Miasma on the Ravener Alpha, that's a really weird upgrade. It does give him extra HP, which, you know, never a bad thing. However, it's only 50 HP. The main reason you get it is that AoE ability that it gives you, but 10 piercing damage in an AoE around you is amazing in a mirror, amazing against Orcs, maybe even against Eldar. But against Space Marines who are running around with heavy armor and very few models in a squad, I don't generally think it's going to be that effective, and it probably would not be a high priority upgrade for me. I think I'd rather go for Crippling Talons or something like that if I was going to be getting any fast war gear on my Ravener Alpha. You could go for Burrowing Mines to try and deal with Garrisons. Garrisons aren't particularly influential on this map though, and then, of course, there's two squads of Scouts, and they will inevitably gain access to and I've completely lost my train of thought. I feel like sometimes I live in a mental asylum. I've got to be honest, guys. Anyway, where were we? We've got Raveners coming out. Okay, Typhus lost a Hormagaunt squad. Where the hell did he lose a Hormagaunt squad? God, it's impossible to focus on anything. I don't know, maybe it was over here, I'm not sure. It's always tricky when there's grenades going around. Maybe these scouts were the culprits, I'm not sure. I have been noticing that the double tax, double scouts is quite popular against the Tyranids at the moment. It is a pretty good build. Scouts give you a lot of utility to help you deal with the melee. And then the Tyranids can't really outshoot double attacks, even in tier 1, and then in tier 2, no chance, because in tier 2 you get access to the plasma guns and attacks. And then it's really rough. Not to mention the attack squads themselves scale via the Sarge, which the Gaunts can't do. The scaling that they get from Endless Swarm is very upkeep effective, but it's not very powerful. Apeman is currently dominating the map control, which is very impressive when you're playing as Space Marines against the Tyranids. And when I say dominating, I mean really dominating. Just check out the VPs here. Apeman has 488 VPs to the just over 200 for Typhus. But Typhus is really committing to a fast tech playstyle here. It's going to be in tier 2 relatively soon. And Apeman is an absolute mile off. Apeman doesn't even have his third generator. I'm not sure right now if a third generator would even get him to tier 2 faster, because he's also relatively low on requisition. I don't like that Typhus has not upgraded his Termagants. The sheer stat boost that you get from upgrading your Termagants is absolutely bonkers for 15 power, and it really feels like Tyranids don't need that 15 power that much. I mean, compared to getting this war gear, I don't know, if this is the Prodigy, fucking hell, guys. Dawn of War 2 skill might be worse than I expected. That was a good grenade from Apeman. Who the hell's Apeman? What kind of noob tournament is this? Throwing retreat grenades like that. A very nice retreat grenade. Easy 5 extra model kills there for the Space Marines. The Space Marines are slowly accumulating more and more XP, which is what they need to beat the Tyranids. Tyranids find it very difficult to kill the actual Marines, but they might have an opportunity here with Tactical Space Marines walking right into Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers, oh, these are definitely losing a model, if not wiped. Special attacks coming out from the Gene Stealers, and they've got that really high melee skill, and they wipe the tax. Oh, Apeman dropped his micro. You might be able to throw a retreat grenade, buddy, but when you're moving your Tech Marine and your Scout up to the side to do a little bit of a gen bash, he shows how noob he is, because he loses all of his awareness. And gets his tax killed. But hey, look, Typhus is returning the favour. Isn't that nice of him? Way, return the favour entirely. That is a Termagant squad down. Tunnel down. A little bit more XP here for the Space Marines. And now they can proceed to Gen Bash. I don't think the Gen Bashing is going to be too influential here. Typhus is already in tier 2. I suppose there's a few things that cost power in the Tyranid tier 2, but not a lot. He's not going to be able to bash all the gens. Little bit of a mistake there, retreating slightly too early on the scouts so that they took this path rather than running this way, but he only loses one scout model for it, so it's not really a huge deal. I'm just going to use his high-powered shot there from the mass-crafted bolter upgrade to inflict a little bit of chip damage onto the warriors. They don't have amazing HP regen out of combat, so they'll be a little bit weak for the next fight, most likely. Typhus is going to be spamming Gene Stealers. I find this very odd. I don't know. I'm going to say, if he finds the melee so effective against the Tech Marine, why would you not go for the Hormagaunt spam in tier 1? One Gene Stealer I can kind of understand. You go for a Gene Stealer, you get the melee, the Adrenal Glands and the Warrior Brood, and then the subsequent melee Synapse. And that's a really powerful little combo for a relatively cheap cost. And it's a big power spike in tier 2. It's going to take a lot to deal with this. You really need Plasma and you need some shotguns. Shotguns to control the Gene Stealers, while this Plasma actually rips up the Synapse. And if you're going to tier 2 first, that's a nice power spike. You can put on a lot of pressure, but to get 2 seems like a massive commitment, and it very much opens you up to counterplay from a Razorback. The other thing that's really concerning for Typhus right now is the lack of VPs. I'm also noticing a general lack of tunnels from Typhus as well, and he has now swapped his Ravener Alpha to the Damage Synapse Aura. Again, there's an opportunity cost there. The damage aura is very good, and it doesn't become more expensive because you already have an upgrade, but it means that you're losing out on more by choosing to purchase that war gear, because not only are you paying the resources for the damage synapse, but you're losing all the benefits of the previous war gear that you already had. And I really have to question that Toxic Miasma purchase that he got there on the Ravener. It really did not seem very effective. Let's see what the Gene Stealers can do in retreat here with their melee attacks. Going to claim 2 more scout models. Scouts will get out of there, and there is now a Razorback on the field, going to be immediately obtaining the reinforced armor plating. I do not know when the reinforced armor plating went down to 20 power from 70. I thought it was 130 for the longest of time. Interesting. This is funny to me because... Oh, Apeman put a turret on his farm? That's pretty legit. Do we have another retreat grenade potentially? He likes these retreat grenades, doesn't he? Ah, he missed that one though. A little bit too slow on the approach. Gene Stealer's quite hard to hit with the retreat grenades because they are speed 6.5. So, oh great. One of the attacks died and I didn't see. Wow, I'm really good at casting. Shut up, Deimos. Alright. The Venom Brood is on the field though. Pretty natural follow-up. It's got to get a count for this Razorback. Gene Stealer's massively overcommitting here though. A nice positioning on the Razorback. The Venom Brood can't really shoot it from its position. Can now, but the Tech Marine can just go into melee and these guys are going to have to leave. This is poor play from Typhus. Very poor play. Should not have extended so much. Missed micro over here with the Termagants. The Termagants should not bother gem bashing this. They should just go take the requisition. Apeman now is running 4 generators. We've got the Corrosive Devourer on the Ravener Alpha, giving him a little bit of AV potential. You'll see here that it's actually plasma damage, which makes it amazing against the Tactical Space Marines, but then it gives you the Corrosive Shot ability, which passively increases the damage that you deal by 250% against vehicles. So even though it's plasma damage, once that ability is active, it actually does basically what you'd expect a dedicated AV weapon to do. Now we're seeing more turrets coming up here. We've got a plasma gun on the 1 remaining Tactical Marine squad. I don't believe the Tech Marine is going to be able to finish this here because of the very high melee skill of the Gene Stealers. They should be getting some knockback, and indeed they do, and that is a dead Tech Marine. Very, very greedy play there from Apeman. He's really wanting to turret these locations so that he can presumably drain the last 50 VPs that are remaining for Typhus. But the double Gene Stealers is coming in, putting a lot of pressure onto the attacks there. That's a pretty good grenade, but honestly didn't really seem to do much damage. That was kind of odd. Tactical Marines lose their Sergeant and down to only 1 model, but there's nothing really to deal with the Razorback here. No Rippers to absorb the firepower from the Heavy Bolter on top. And the Venom Brood were not in the correct position. They are lurking around the top here. Got a couple of tunnels as well. I don't know what they're doing. Where are they going? They have to do a Gen Bash, maybe? I mean, the turret's still there in the Gen farm, so that would seem a bit odd. There is the Ravener Alpha with the Corrosive Devourer here. I'm assuming because it's got the yellow buff circle underneath it that it's activated its corrosive shots. Oh, it definitely has. And there comes the flank from the Venom Brood. Now, one thing that Typhus could have used here to ensure that he got the kill, he gets it anyway, but he could definitely got it a lot easier, is use the Catalyst Global. He's got a lot of red. So if he used that Global, there was nothing really threatening the Venom Brood in that instance. That would double the damage of the Venom Brood, but they would slowly lose half of their health over a set period of time. But because nothing was threatening the Venom Brood, that would be a relatively low risk play, and it would have killed the Razorback very easily. But he kills it nonetheless, and I think really Typhus should be able to win this. You know, it's Fedrid Folly, guys, so check this out as well. We've got the Death Spitters now because he's gone for double Venom Brood. So he's kept the secondary one with the Venom Cannons, and the primary one that just got the kill is now swapped to the Death Spitters, which are basically Inferno DPS, anti-infantry weaponry. They don't really do too much against vehicles. Well, they really don't do anything at all against vehicles, but they're very nice to kill anything in ranged. And finally, the little 5 Gorm squad here of Termagants managed to take out that power node. I'm going to start capping this power because the Apeman has had that quadruple gen farm thing going on for a long time. You'll notice in contrast, Typhus, even now, only has the 2 gens because that's all he needs as Tyranids. Very poor micro there from Typhus, not realising that a grenade was coming over the Termagants. Too busy looking down here with his Venom Brood, trying to do a bit of gem bashing. He did get a bit of a gem bash, but he's not going to be able to get the full farm, I don't think. He might be able to, actually. He might be able to. It's going to be a little bit micro intensive. Move down, shoot, move back before you get fully suppressed. See, the Venom Brood have 44 range, so they can do their little poke here from the max distance. It'd be even easier if you get someone else to scout for you. Oh, Typhus, you're eating a lot of grenades, mate. I hope Typhus got a lot better after this replay, and this isn't the prodigy that everyone was hyping up in the Discord, because I have to admit, guys, I'm not very impressed. I'm not very impressed. Perhaps if this guy's stomping everyone, then perhaps Tyranids are just completely broken. Because I'm seeing a lot of strategic errors and a lot of micro errors here for a Prodigy. For a Prodigy, you know, I'd want the strategic errors to be minimized. You obviously expect newer players are not going to have perfect macro and micro. You know, their ability to foresee threats and keep track of timings and all this kind of nonsense, that's obviously going to be difficult for a new player, and just the ability to micro the units and do combination abilities is going to be a struggle as well. But the broader strategy, what unit counters what, which areas of the map are the most important to own, which build am I going for, gen timings, war gear purchases, this shouldn't be too difficult. You know, it shouldn't take you, this should only really take you about 20 hours to learn for your race. If you stick with 2 or 3 maps, you know, don't make it too complicated. But hey ho, here we are. Apeman finding himself very outnumbered right now, but the power of the Tech Marine and his turrets is keeping him in the game for sure. It's meant that he hasn't lost his gen farm. He's actually got really quite a surplus of power at this point. He's been bleeding a lot of models. I feel like Apeman has bled a lot of unnecessary attack models, and it's really hurting him because his requisition income is severely impacted. There's a lot of units that he could have got in addition to this Dreadnought that he's now purchasing that would have been very helpful. Oh, did he not notice the tunnel coming up? Oh wow, this is... oh god. This is not a good tunnel. They literally spawned in front of the turret. No! Oh, that's not great. That was a beautiful grenade. I must say, Apeman's been doing very nicely with his grenades here. Friggin' scout grenades, man. But yeah, that was an optimistic tunnel. At the very least, he should have brought some Gene Stealers out of it, because then they can get into melee range with the turret. Jesus Christ, though. Double Gene Stealers doing a lot of damage here. Maybe going to wipe the tax. Oh no, it looks like they're just going to get out. Yeah. But the turret saves the day. Now, Spore mines can't be suppressed, and they will do a lot of damage to a turret, so spawning some spore mines out the towers here whilst you do a big push with Gene Stealers and Venom Brood would be a good idea. Obviously, if you just send the spore mines in on their own, that might be a struggle. Certainly if there's even a single unit nearby to support by shooting the spore mines along with the turret, you're probably not going to have enough mines to take out the turret by the time you finally get close to it. But that's why you do a big timing push. The turret can't take on the whole enemy army and suppress them whilst also damaging... oh, wow. Well, I don't know what happened to the Dreadnought, but it just got wrecked apparently by 1 Venom Brood with Venom Cannons and the Corrosive Devourer. These guys have got the Death Spits, so they don't even do AV damage, so... I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit unsure why Apeman sent that down there anyway. That was definitely a strategic mistake. Right now, there's only 24 VPs for Typhus. Apeman should be committing all of his forces here with drop pods, relay beacons, turrets, and the Dreadnought in melee to protect these 2 VPs. With this high ground advantage and the fact that the enemy is channeled through relatively small lanes, the Dreadnought could be very effective, especially if you gave it an assault cannon. But instead he sent it completely isolated on his own down to deal with the contested VP. Very odd. Another Dreadnought for Apeman. It's going to be a Tyrant Guard for Typhus, and given how well Typhus dealt with the previous Dreadnought, I imagine Typhus is going to be able to deal with this very easily. If it goes ranged, the Tyrant Guard beats it up in melee. If it goes melee, well then it's not tying up the Venom Cannon Venom Brood. Wait. It's a visual bug? No. Yeah, these guys have still got the Venom Cannons. And of course we've got this Corrosive Devourer. So you've got 2 forms of ranged AV. Therefore a melee Dreadnought can't just walk up and tie up the ranged AV. because it's 2. And yeah, that's going to be a problem. Especially with a Tyrant Guard nearby as well. I am skeptical for Apeman here, but really all he needs to do is focus on these 2 VPs. Like, look at how much resources right now Typhus is committing to the far east side, which is a big mistake from him. By the way, he should definitely have tunnels over here, because he needs to defend this VP. He's literally been on this super low amount of VPs for a very long time now. Nice use of Catalyst here, though. Along with their Adrenal Frenzy, they're doing a lot of damage to the Tax, but the Tax have used Unleash on None of Fear, and that's going to actually help them win this fight. Obviously, with the support of the Shotgun Scouts and the Tech Marine here. Tech Marine is decapping the point. Typhus, for some reason, is committing heavily to the Gen Farm. Okay, I think he realizes the error of his ways now. The Gen Farm is not important right now. You could maybe justify it slightly for Apeman because he's got the superior VPs, but right now Typhus needs to get on the damn VPs. Sending G-Sealers into melee with a melee Dreadnought does not really seem a good idea. They are power melee only. And because he hasn't dealt with the turret, he can't cap the VP. Oh wow, Typhus has lost. What? Why? Why did he send everything except 1 Gene Sealer to go deal with a scout squad on this side of the map? 1 Death Spitter Venom Brood would have been perfect for that. Scouts can't do anything to Death Spitter Venom Brood. The Death Spitters out DPS them, they outrange them, and Venom Brood, well, they've got way more HP, and Venom Brood are heavy infantry, so the piercing damage of the shotguns doesn't really do anything. So that would handle them, and then just have everything else over here along with a Tyrant Guard chilling. You get Spore Mines out your towers to deal with these turrets. He never dealt with these turrets. These turrets were really, really powerful for him, for Apeman. Which is nice to see, but, you know, there's definitely counters. We didn't see any Rippers either, and you're fighting a Tech Marine, so, you know, all these infantry forces that he fought, literally all of them, were ranged. Get Rippers, man. They're super cheap, low requisition, fast units. Just tie up the enemy range units. It doesn't matter if they bleed. It doesn't even matter if they die. Or it does matter if you keep losing Gene Stealer models and feeding XP to your opponents. Level 4 Tactical Space Marines, level 4 Scouts. Level 4 Scouts, and obviously this was a fresh Dreadnought. And look at the level disparity here. So these guys are relatively fresh and new. But even the Warriors, which were out from the start of the game, only level 2. So I think that's quite telling, level 4 Ravener Alpha versus a level 7 Tech Marine. Now, you do expect Space Marines to get a little bit of an XP advantage. It's hard to kill Space Marine models, it's easy to kill Tyranid models, even though the Tyranid models do yield less XP, of course. But still, I think the point stands. There you go, though, guys. That was a little sample of Typhus, the Ravener Alpha prodigy, losing. So that's how much of a prodigy he is. I don't know, maybe he won subsequent games. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe he's performed a lot better in other games. If so, guys, and you are aware of this, get in my Discord and send me those replays because I'm keen to see it. Always nice to see some Space Marines. Always nice to be on good old Fedrid Folly. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. That's all from your boy STD this time. I am signing out.